So we'll jump right into it with Llewellyn.
All right, so this is just like a short little talk. We'll have the more main event talk here. This is going to be about 15 minutes or so. So I pared it down to just 600 slides. You think I'm joking? All right. What I want to take you through is a sense of code smells. So one of the things when I work with teams, all right, so one of the things I do as a technical coach is we sit with teams and we sit in a mob and we work on their code. And one of the things I was noticing is a lot of people didn't even see the problems that I was trying to teach them skills to fix. And I came across this technique. It's been around like sort of as far as we can tell since the 20s, but just sort of sits in the shadows of sort of psychology and some weird training specifics. And so I started using this technique to train people to have a sense of style. And I'm going to use it on you. I'm going to do it 3 different things. First, just to get you used to the technique, I'm going to train you not with code at all, and then I'm going to train you on Clutter, and then I'm going to train you on long methods. And that'll be the whole thing. Does that make sense? So I'm going to start you completely off domain. Now, the technique that we're using, like I said, it's been back from the 20s, but also it's having some interesting research being done right now by a professor out in Iowa who's using this exact same technique to change pigeons to diagnose cancer from MRI slides, right? And after 2 weeks of this training, they will outperform doctors on detecting cancer. And that's as individual pigeons. If you put 4 of them in a group and they have a consensus, there's a 99% chance that they're correct, right? These are pigeons diagnosing cancer. I'm going to use the exact same technique minus the food to teach you to see cancer in your own code. Does that make sense? It'll make more sense in a little bit. There's some really important rules that go to this. The first one is you guys are going to have to say the words out loud. That's super, super important. I am not trying to train your conscious mind. That's not the part that's in play here. I'm going to try to train your subconscious and very specifically your visual cortex. And I need your visual cortex to be activated for the training to work. And to do that, you need to articulate the words. Right? There's some interesting science behind why words hit our visual cortex. But for right now, just you need to say the word out loud. You do not need to say it loud. You don't need to scream it or anything. You're welcome to if you want to. But you do need to actually articulate the word. It needs to like sort of be formed in your mouth. That's really important. And then the second part that's going to be really important is you need to try. Now, you don't need to be right. You're not going to be right at first. There's basically no chance of that. But it doesn't matter if you're right. What is matter is that you try. So first, a little bit on how to try, right? I'm going to ask you to sort stuff. Just try to think like why you're choosing what you're choosing, right? You won't be right, and it doesn't really matter that you're right, but the fact that you try to identify patterns is really going to make a difference. And then just to give some evidence as to why it matters that you try, they did this study in Switzerland with rats. This is a little bit of a disgusting story, so hopefully you're done with your pizza. So you take these rats, and they cut into the spinal cord in 2 places, completely paralyze the rat, but they don't completely sever the spinal cord, right? And then they take these rats and they put them in a harness and they pump them through drugs and electricity and they can get them to walk, right? So they put them on a treadmill, pump them with the drugs, and the treadmill goes and the rat starts walking and the treadmill stops and the rat stops. Which is kind of amazing, right? Like you can just sort of do it. But the thing is, it's totally the autonomic service that's doing it. Brain's not involved at all. They can do this for months and months and months, take the drug off, or the rats off the drug, paralyzed completely. However, they do the exact same thing, put it in there, don't turn the treadmill on, but instead put a piece of chocolate in front of the rat. Now it turns out rats love chocolate, like all of us. And so the rat, oh, I want the chocolate, oh, I want the chocolate. And the researchers actually like encourage the rat. They're like, come on, go. You know, oh, I want the chocolate, oh, I want the chocolate. And in about 3 weeks, the spinal cord will actually find ways to weave around the cuts and rejoin. I want to sum that study up. The difference between going through the motions and giving a damn will regrow your nerves in your spinal column. I'm just trying to move things in your brain. It's a much more plastic system. So, say it out loud, try. Does that make sense? All right. Let's go. This is how this is going to, let's start at the beginning. This is how this is going to work. I'm going to show you a picture of a song sparrow. You're going to, let's try it one more time. I'm going to show you a picture of a house sparrow. You're going to say house.
House.
You'll get a confirmation. I'm going to show you pictures of song sparrows. You're going to say song.
Song.
You will get a confirmation. Are you ready? Go.
Song. House. House. Song. House and song. House. Song. House. Song.
All right. So do you guys know the difference now between the two birds? There's a couple interesting things that just happened and I want to call them out. The first is, this is a very different kind of teaching than normal, right? Most teaching is someone saying, here's how things are. And this is more like, I'm just going to show you stuff and you're going to figure it out. It is literally an AI training set for I. But it's the exact same concept of AI training sets. And another thing that's interesting is we went from, at the very beginning, I'm showing you the birds at 4 seconds a slide, and at the end, it's 3/4 of a second a slide, right? And in the beginning, like, you guys are all over the place, but at the end, you're almost instantaneous, and you are 100% right. Like the last 25. And then another thing you might notice is not only were you saying the right answers, but you probably knew the right answer was right before you got the confirmation. So we moved not just to you're able to get it right, but you know that you have it right. So within 3.5 minutes, we went from complete newbies to experts. And that goes mainly because fires together, wires together. Right? That's the way the brain works. You give it lots of stimuli, it just starts forming connections. The next ones are going to be harder than this, but one of the things you will also notice, and apologies in advance, I guess, or too late, suck. You will see sparrows from now on. You just won't be able to help yourself. That's how this works. So just a little bit of help so that you don't go through the same sort of weirdness that I went through. Birds are different than a lot of animals in that they look very, very different if they're male or female. And so I have trained you actually on the male house sparrow. The female house sparrow looks different. You can see over here, we have a male house sparrow, this is a female house sparrow. You can now probably know enough about the song sparrow to know it's not a song sparrow, but you'll see them and you'll be like, that's not a song sparrow, but it's not a house sparrow. What is it? It's a female house sparrow. They hang out with male house sparrows a lot, so if you see one, you'll see the other, and then you'll get confused. Anyhow, we are not here to talk about birds. We are here to talk about code smells. We're going to start with clutter. So this is how this is going to work. I'm going to show you some code that is distinct. You're going to say,
Distinct.
we just went through this. Let's start again. I'm going to show you some code that's distinct. You're going to say,
Distinct.
you'll get your yeah, wrong deck. Let's try this again. I'm going to show you some code that's relevant. You're going to say,
Relevant.
there we go. And you'll get your confirmation. I will show you some code that is clutter. You will say,
Clutter.
you will get your confirmation. Are you ready? Go.
Relevant. Clutter. Relevant.
Say it out loud. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong.
Relevant. Clutter. Clutter. Relevant. Relevant. Clutter. Relevant. Relevant. Clutter. Clutter. Relevant. Relevant. No. Clutter. Relevant. Clutter. Clutter. Relevant. 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 Clutter. Relevant.
Keep going.
Relevant. Clutter. Relevant.
Keep going.
Clutter. Relevant. Clutter. Relevant. Relevant. Clutter. Relevant. 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 Clutter. Clutter. Relevant. Relevant. Clutter. 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 Relevant. relevant, clutter, 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 clutter.
So first of all, most of this code is scrubbed from actual production code. Tomorrow, when you go back and you look at your code, you will probably notice some clutter. It's one of the easiest code smells to remove. You just delete the clutter. That's it, right? It's also one of the safest code smells to remove.
Speaking of Clutter, I have the phone up with there, so it's not side effects, so someone let me know.
Okay. It will show up a lot in the time it takes to find stuff in your code. So here's Waldo. That's about 30% of clutter removed, which is about what I can take out of an average production code base. I used to think the idea was to get down to there, but I no longer believe that. What I believe is this. There are patterns in your code, and clutter prevents you from hearing them. There's a really clear pattern here. Do you guys see it? Let me remove the clutter. You see it now? Your code wants to talk to you. If you clutter it up, you will not be able to hear what it's saying. See the clutter, remove the clutter. All right, we're not going to do long lines. We're not going to do encapsulation. We're going to do long methods as the last one here. All right, same rules apply as before. I'm going to show you some code that's short enough. You're going to say, short.
Short,
Try again, out loud. It makes a difference.
short,
Look at your confirmation. I'm going to show you some code that is too long. You're going to say,
long,
you'll get your confirmation. Go.
short, too long, too long, too long,
how I told you that you'll see sparrows? I've had the experience where I've been sitting in a group with our team and I'm looking at a piece of code and I'm like, oh, what's the smell here? And I've had programmers look at it and be like, well, can you scroll down so we can see the rest of the method? To after going through the deck, as we were scrolling down to the code that we want, and the scrolls by it, they're like, wow, that was really long. Is there something we can do about it? This entire presentation doesn't at all talk about what to do about it. That's a much longer conversation. But until you see it, you can't start that conversation. All right, got two more quick things. And then so first is, I'm a very Googleable name. If you go to my blog over on the side, you'll see Sparrow decks. And you can actually download all these decks and try them with your teams. All right, so if you like this. But if you don't want to try it with your team, if you just want to get better yourself, you can also go to bit.ly/Sparrow decks, all one word. You can do this on your phone or tablet as well. Choose the deck of interest to you, and then on your phone, it's swipe right or left, or you can tap left and right, like over here. Or on the computer, you can also just use your arrow keys and go through the decks themselves. All right. So you can do it by yourself. Now, remember I told you the pigeons are becoming doctors using this technique? They actually have a really small deck. It's only 50 slides. Each of the decks I showed you was 100 slides. Well, 100 examples, 200 slides. Right? The pigeons are only doing it with 50, but they do it over and over and over again, and it turns out that doesn't matter. So you can repeat the same deck. Your brain will just figure it out. Right? So there's no harm at all in doing the deck more than once. That's everything I got.
Awesome.
Thank you.